Welcome to Frances Reads Her Bible. Today I'm moving on to Numbers chapter 20. And Numbers chapter 20 is about events at Kadesh. So, in the first month, the whole community of Israel came to the wilderness of Zin and camped at Kadesh. There, Miriam died and was buried. Miriam is the only sister of Moses that was mentioned. She's older than he is, or he was. Remember the sister that watched when he was put in a basket and kept in the river? Yes, yes, that sister. So there was no water where they camped. So the people gathered around Moses and Aaron and complained, as always, if I might add. It would have been better if we had died in front of the Lord's tent along with the other Israelites. Why have you brought us out into this wilderness? Just so that we can die here with our animals? Why did you bring us out of Egypt into this miserable place where nothing will grow? There's no grain, no figs, no grapes, no pomegranates. There's not even any water to drink. Well, this is the same complaints they've had for years. They complain about the same thing over and over. And it's very interesting that they even mentioned dying in front of the Lord's tent. Remember, the people who died in front of the Lord's tent were those who rebelled. They and their 250 followers were killed, and then God sent a plague, depending on your language, into the camp, and thousands, over 10,000 of Israelites died. But the death stopped when Aaron took up, incense and stood in the middle, separating the living and the dead. And these people still remember that and they are still complaining. Like I always say, how do you know God is with you? You can see his cloud during the day, see the fire at night following you, and you still complain and you still do not have faith, even though you came from land of Egypt, you saw the things that God had did, the manna that appears, the quail, everything. They were so lucky. I keep saying it. To me, they were so lucky. You could see the visible presence of God. Unlike today, where we have to have faith in our hearts. They could see it. They'd seen all the miracles. They were seeing. Anyways, let me go on. So Moses and Aaron moved away from the people and stood at the entrance of the tents. They bowed down with their faces to the ground, and the dazzling light of the Lord's presence appeared to them. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the stick that is in front of the covenant box, and then you and Aaron assemble the whole community. There in front of them all, speak to that rock over there, and water will gush out of it. In this way, you will bring water out of the rock for the people, for them and their animals to drink." Moses went and got the stick as the Lord had commanded. He and Aaron assembled the whole community in front of the rock. And Moses said, "Listen, you rebels, do we have to get water out of this rock for you?" Moses was angry, but this was not what he was told to do. There in front of them all, speak to that rock over there, and water will gush out of it. But then he now went and said, "Listen, you rebels, do we," meaning he and Aaron, okay, as always, these are my thoughts. He now taking the glory from God and put it upon he and Aaron. Then Moses raised the stick and struck the rock twice with it, and a great stream of water gushed out, and all the people and animals drank. You know, God did not say strike the rock once or twice, He said speak to it. And then this is not just like I said, He put the glory of getting this water out on him and Aaron. And then he now made a performance. Like, yeah, the stick, my stick. Forgetting God said, speak to the rock. not strike the rock 2 times. Speak to the rock. But then the Lord reprimanded Moses and Aaron. He said, because you did not have enough faith to acknowledge my holy power before the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land I promised to give you. Because, yeah, aside from taking away the glory of that situation from God by saying, do we have to strike this rock? He didn't have the faith to speak to the rock that God had instructed him. Instead, he used the stick to strike the rock twice, showing he didn't believe speaking to the rock without having to touch the rock would bring about the outcome that God had told him, you know. So to God, he showed a lack of faith. He didn't even strike that rock once, he did it 2 times, like, come out, you know, showmanship. He had to perform showmanship. So this happened at Meribah, where the people of Israel complained against the Lord, and where he showed them that he is holy. Because, well, God said, because you did not have enough faith to acknowledge my holy power before the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land that I promised to give them. Moses was angry about the people complaining, yes, granted. But then I think there's a way people's lack of faith can also affect you. So, well, as always, are my thoughts. I believe the people of Israel's lack of faith towards the provision of water by Moses and Aaron also kind of subconsciously, or should I say unconsciously, affected Moses in his bringing water out of that rock. And then he now relied on the stick, because remember, this was the same stick that parted the Red Sea. This was the same stick he rose up on one or two other occasions, you know. He, instead of having faith in that, in God, he put his faith in the stick and the showmanship he was going to perform, and thereby taking away the glory from God and putting it upon him and Aaron and the stick. Like I said, always are my thoughts. And God was angry about it. Even if Moses and Aaron were the only two from the old Israelites that left the land of Egypt that were to have made it to the new land, God said, because of what you both did, no more. And it's sad that it was Moses who did this striking and doing, but it affected Aaron, you know, because God called them together and gave them instruction together. So he was going to hold them accountable. If one person faltered, for an instruction was given to two people, you know, God will hold both parties responsible. That's what happened to Aaron and Moses. Aaron didn't reprimand. If Aaron had reprimanded Moses when Moses did that striking of the rock 2 times, or when he spoke, then God might have spared. I believe God would have spared Aaron, but he didn't. He went along with it. Apologies if my voice sounds off. I have a cold. I'm still recovering. So Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. Remember Edom, the Edomites, Esau, yeah, those people. Then he said, this message is from your kinsmen, the tribes of Israel. You know the hardships we have suffered. How our ancestors went to Egypt, where we lived many years. The Egyptians mistreated our ancestors and us. These were basically their kinsmen, like 400 and something years down, ago. They came from the same ancestor, Abraham. You know, Esau and Jacob were twins. So yes, this him saying your kinsmen was right. They were kinsmen. They shared the same blood, same lineage, the same ancestors. So he's now telling them, regaling the news or whatever of what had happened to them in Egypt. And we cried to the Lord for help. He heard our cry and sent an angel who led us out of Egypt. Now we're at Kadesh, a town at the border of your territory. Please permit us to pass through your land. We and our cattle will not leave the road or go into your fields or vineyards, and we will not drink from your wells. We will stay on the main road until we are out of your territory. But the Edomites answered, "We refuse to let you pass through our country. If you try, we will march out and attack you." So much for brotherly love, huh? And the people of Israel said, as in they had to repeat it again, we will stay on the main road. And if we or our animals drink any of your water, we will pay for it. All we want is to pass through. The Edomites repeated, "We refuse." And they marched out a powerful army to attack the people of Israel. They didn't just refuse, they gathered themselves and marched out the powerful army to attack their own kinsmen that just wanted to pass as in peacefully through their country. So now the plan is to kill or whatnot, attack people of Israel. I don't understand how you do that to your own kinsmen. Well, but that's what they did. And it's interesting to note when he said we cried to the Lord for help in 16, meaning they have the same Lord, or Moses believed they shared the same Lord. Because remember, Abraham worshipped the same Lord, and he taught his son Isaac or Isaac to worship God. And Isaac or Isaac at the same time taught Jacob or Yaakov and Esau the same thing about God. So yeah, we cry to the Lord for help. So because the Edomites would not let the Israelites pass through their territory, the Israelites turned and went another way. Passing through that territory would have made the journey easier, for the Israelites, but the Edomites refused. Should I kind of say maybe it was because God wanted them to spend that 40 years to get to the promised land, you know? But then in the end, later, the Edomites were punished for this act. We'll see later. So the whole community of Israel left Kadesh and arrived at Mount Hor on the border of Edom. There the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Aaron is not going to enter the land which I promised to give to Israel. He is going to die, because the two of you rebelled against my command at Meribah. Take Aaron and his son Eleazar up Mount Hor." Eleazar is the third son of Aaron. Remember the first two sons, the first and the second sons of Aaron died when Aaron was ordained priests. God struck them, dead. Because God had no now God has already told Aaron and Moses they're not going to make it to the promised land. And it's so nice, should I say, that now he's letting Aaron know, yeah, you're about to die. So it's time. So many people don't know when they are going to die, you know. So now he's saying it's time. Take your son with you. It's time to perform some ritual and place upon Eleazar the power that you have, something like that. So imagine being in Aaron's shoes and you know you're about to die, you'd make changes, do the things you need to do, prepare for death and all that is necessary. Say your goodbyes. So when they got to the mountain, that's Mount Hor, there they removed Aaron's priestly robes and put them on Eleazar. As in God is telling them, there when you get to that mountain, remove Aaron's priestly robes and put them on Eleazar. Aaron is going to die there on that mountain. So Moses did what the Lord had commanded. They went up to Mount Hor in the sight of the whole community, like I said. He said his goodbyes. And Moses removed Aaron's priestly robes, put them on Eleazar. There on the top of the mountain, Aaron died. And Moses and Eleazar came back down. The whole community learned that Aaron had died, and they all mourned for him for 30 days. I doubt they told the community, as the Israelites, that Aaron was going up the mountain tonight. He would just say, "Oh, yeah, we are going up the mountain. Oh, bye. I'll see you." Things like that. Just putting things, people not knowing he was saying his final goodbyes. You know, and I can imagine that once the robes were taken off him, the power of God left him, and remember, I always say, man is made of spirit, soul, and body. So the spirits left, soul departed, and the body just lay there, empty like a shell. Well, there's so much to be unpacked here. Disobedience, obedience, being better than sacrifice. That's what Moses did. He sacrificed. What do we, taking glory from God, doing what, putting his faith in the stick, not speaking to the rock like God told him to. And there are some people God tell when they're about to die. That's something else I've learned from this. Yeah, some people know when they're about to die. God tells them when. As always, in my thoughts, God bless you, keep you, and may His light shine upon you in the mighty name of Jesus. Goodbye.